But there's a similar debate been happening in the UK, as you know, about whether the restrictions, the coronavirus restrictions are too tight, whether they should be eased off. Brendan O'Neill has joined us a couple of times. He's very keen to see those restrictions lifted. He joins us again live from London now. Good to talk to you again, Brendan. I noticed that in London specifically, there's been very low numbers of new infections lately, so that you're getting a lot of support in these calls to ease restrictions.
Yes, absolutely. The number of cases in London have fallen dramatically over the past few weeks. They've been falling by around, across England, the number of cases have been falling by about 100 every 7 days. In London, we're now getting about 10 or 14 new cases in a 24-hour period, which is really, really low in a city, in a teeming city of nearly 9 million people. So I think London, the virus is fading away from London. That's the reality of it. And I really think it's time to open up this city. The lockdown is doing incredible damage to London. The theatre industry is on the verge of collapse. The entertainment industry has almost fallen apart. Some pubs are never going to reopen again, apparently. This city has been defeated by the lockdown more than by the virus, I would say. And it's really time for the government to think about opening up London and opening up the rest of the UK.
It's been a diabolical dilemma for governments around the country already, and we're going through a similar debate here, or we're perhaps a bit further advanced now and starting to lift some of the restrictions. Where are you at in London at the moment? Are restaurants and pubs and bars and cafes all shut completely, or can they deliver takeaway or allow some people to come in?
They are shut. You're not allowed in. You can't sit inside a cafe or a restaurant or a pub. Many of them are doing takeaways or deliveries. You can have food delivered to your house. Some pubs have started doing takeaway pints, which is a godsend. They're absolutely wonderful. There's nothing better than sitting on the streets of London with a cold, fresh, pulled pint from a pub. So that's perked people up a little bit. But lots of these institutions are not going to survive. If we don't open up now and let people go back, I think they will fall through. And, we have to get the risk of COVID-19 into some kind of perspective. So, for example, the number of people struck by lightning in the UK every year is higher than the number of people under the age of 40 who have died from COVID-19. If you're under the age of 60, you've got more chance of dying in an accidental drowning, which is very rare, than you have of dying from COVID-19. This is a virus that impacts mostly on very old people, and even on very old people, most of them survive, thankfully. We have to be reasonable. It is completely crazy that we've got working people, healthy, young working people under the age of 40 or under the age of 60, cooped up in their houses under house arrest, unable to go to work, unable to patronize these important institutions in society. It's a very self-destructive course, and I now think we really need to come out of this lockdown.
Look, it is a real worry, and I can understand some overreaction early on, but once we got a handle on this, we needed to realise how we could lift this thing very, very quickly, because two things have really worried me. You and I have often spoken before about the nanny state. Well, this has given all the nanny staters the best excuse in the world to sort of exercise their nanny state muscle. But also it's worried me a bit just how susceptible a lot of us have been, just how subservient so many people have decided to be in the face of this. They've not resisted at all.
That's one of the things that worries me most, is the speed and the ease with which fundamental liberties were taken away from people. So in the UK, for example, it is currently illegal to organise politically. It's illegal to have a political protest. It's illegal to take part in industrial action. You can be sent home by the police if you are suspected of being infected or of doing something you shouldn't be doing. I mean, fundamental liberties, everyday liberties, have disappeared overnight, and there's been very little pushback. Now, lots of people thought this was a necessary temporary measure and perhaps had to be done to combat this virus. But the longer it goes on, the more I hope there will be a pushback and an attempt to recover the liberties of everyday life, which are absolutely essential. And I think and I hope that at some point people will start questioning this freeze on liberty and this freeze on democracy that has taken place during the pandemic.
Brendan, thanks so much for joining us again.
Thank you.